Good evening, this is Atmospheric Alex here with another tropical weather outlook and discussion. And yes, things look a little bit different. I am home for just a little bit of time here, so hopefully all the overlays on your screen are looking just as good as they were before. There probably are a few things that might break, but I think for the most part, things will run fairly well. So we're going to take a pretty good look here at Invest 98L, which is expected to become quite a powerful system in the Caribbean. Yep, you thought you would never hear me say that this hurricane season, right? I mean, everything's been going out to sea, but this one in particular is already in the Caribbean, so it's too late. But you could see it here becoming organized pretty quickly, just over the past few hours. Our lower level center, or our mid-level center is right within there. Our lower level center is just to south of it, right within there. Right when it stops playing, yeah, right within there. But we have a lot of wind shear currently on Invest 98L, which is causing a lot of issues with organization and a well-defined closed low-pressure system. So while it does look pretty on satellite, this thing still has a few hurdles to overcome before it can become Melissa. And we're going to take a look on weather-wise here at our circulation. You could see our tropical wave Invest 98L right within here, and it is anticipated to track off in this general direction before having some major uncertainties. We could see it go something up like this. We could see it maybe do some weird little stalling motions and, continue off like this. And that is something we're really going to have to watch for over the next few days to the next week, as we have legitimately no idea where 98L is going to go. I do think it'll fall somewhere in between these two paths, but we're going to have to wait and see. But let's go over things that we do know. We know that our Caribbean is currently really warm, borderline hot in some locations, with temperatures in the mid-80s across this entire area here. We are seeing a very warm, very favorable waters throughout the entire Caribbean here, even off to the south, and other areas too look very favorable. The thing that really catches my attention though is our upper ocean heat content values, basically how much warm to hot waters is being stored deep down below, basically the depth of your warm waters. And you can see, yeah, we are talking about some ridiculous values here of upper ocean heat content between 150 and almost 200 units. This is honestly pretty close to being historic. Now, we did see in a few years past it being a little bit worse than this, but this is still very high-end upper echelon here. And if we do see it 98L currently located, I should mark this in red. This needs to start a bit of a tradition here. As we look at 98L, right within here, if it does track in this general vicinity here over these waters, well, we're going to have a lot of problems. And, the ceiling for this thing is exceptionally high, maybe even a high-end major hurricane. We're talking category 3, 4, potentially pushing a 5, but that is your highest end scenario. And we're not going to get into that right now because we don't even know where it's going, but that is what we have to deal with. Even if it doesn't take that left turn and it does something like this, I mean, this is still outrageous. So we really need to watch this closely. Now, we're going to continue going over stuff that we do know. This is our wind shear map from our European model. You could see 98L down here currently dealing with just a little bit of wind shear in some spots. Nothing too intense, but just intense enough to really prevent development and prevent your centers to be significantly displaced from one another. That's what we're seeing right now. As we continue this through time, again, wind shear is going to be the story, but some of this does become outflow for our system. And I would like to note we have these little periods here where you could see kind of like this ring developing around your system. This means your system is actually displaced from your wind shear and can have opportunities to rapidly intensify. So, maybe some little bout of intensification on Thursday, basing this off strictly the European model. And you could see it doing some weird motions there, and it does get itself into much more favorable conditions. And look at this. Wind shear really begins to lighten off going on through into next Monday through Wednesday. This is not a forecast because by this point, it may already be out here doing something like this. So absolutely do not take this for a guarantee. So the placement of this could be completely wrong, but still, my point stands. Wind shear will begin to slowly, gradually weaken over time, and that could allow for rapid intensification. And then this does something like that. Something that really fascinates me in particular is not just our wind shear, but is our moisture as well, from our low to upper levels of our atmosphere here. You can see it is dealing with some significant moisture issues right now on the western side of the circulation, but on the eastern side, we're talking about very rich, very moist conditions, a lot of heavy rainfall ongoing. And you can see over the next few days, not much of it changes. Sometimes it tries to get more moisture and intensify, but I'd like to note real quickly, as we continue through time, a lot more dry air, but let's just continue. Right as it stalls out, you can see our moisture pocket actually catches up to our system, and when this thing goes off to the northeast, it actually buries itself in its own moisture pocket, and I think that is our greatest chance for rapid to even explosive intensification if this winds up in such an environment. So it's very cool, very interesting that this thing could actually go right back over its own moisture pocket and absolutely explode because of it. And you could definitely see it taking advantage of that over time. Now let's continue on through here with our hurricane model track guidance here. You can see from our 18Z data as of this afternoon, a lot of our hurricane models do have it going off in this general direction here, kind of like this. However, if you look close enough, you can see our main hurricane models, our HAVS A, is doing something like this. HAVS B doing something like this. Look at that. Your HMON, something like this. Some of our main hurricane models are actually going much further west than the rest of our pack here, which is very intriguing to note. But still, majority of the guidance does take this into Dominican Republic, bringing significant rain, but this is just not a forecast yet. I mean, still have a lot of details to iron out. Our intensity guidance is fairly uncertain as of right now, but it is anticipated to get up to around a Category 1 to even a Category 2 hurricane, though I do think it could get way higher than that up in this range, but that we're going to have to wait for that, as it's going to take some time for that wind shear to die down. But I do anticipate this to likely become a mid-range Category 2 at the most as of now, but again, things can and will change. Now I'm going to speed things up a little bit because I've been talking quite a bit. This is our European Ensemble model here, our EPS model, and you can see where it takes both of our scenarios. Here is scenario 1, as it's significantly further north. So you have one right here, and a lot of these are actually going to track over the Dominican Republic and out to sea just like that. So you're going to see that here. Ones that develop too fast get right out to sea. But the ones that develop later, this is scenario number 2. Remember window 1, window 2, what I was talking about the other day? This is basically the same thing. Are going to go ahead and do something like this, which that is going to be a very interesting scenario if it plays out. And you see, a lot of these members do become a Cat 3, Category 4 hurricane, potentially even more intense than that. And that is going to be our high-end scenario. If this system right down here does wind up, doing something like this and tracking a little further off to the west than forecasted, that is where you could definitely see your much higher end scenarios playing out. On to our main European model here, you can see it does stay pretty far south here. That is something to note. And because of this, it does continue moving off to the west. And again, we showed this earlier, but this thing really intensifies it. This is, I want to note, 204 hours out, so this is not a forecast, but still definitely something to keep in mind. Again, it runs over its own moisture pocket. We already went over all those details. Our AI ensemble does something like this. Here's scenario 1 going like that. And again, don't be fooled. Scenario 1 will be very significant if it pans out. We could be talking about upwards of 2 to even 3 feet of rain in the mountains of the Dominican Republic. So if you live there and this scenario looks like it'll unfold, you probably should evacuate, especially if you're near rivers, creeks, or streams that can commonly overflow, or in a town that's in a valley next to one of those features. Very significant things could occur, and mudslides, rock slides, landslides. This is just not something to mess with. But you could see scenario 2 hammering this right into Cuba there. So again, a lot of stuff to really watch. Our main AI model here, again, this actually takes it into Dominican Republic and does show your really high-end scenario with your rainfall totals there. And this honestly looks a bit unrealistic. I'm going to partially discount the AI as of now. It does some weird stuff towards the end of its run. Now looking at our GEFS ensemble, we can't view this on WeatherBell because they don't initialize the data too well. I'm not really sure why that's the case, but we're going to look at it on our free website here, and you can see a lot of our members do actually take scenario 1 and push it right into the DR right here. And again, that is not something you want to see in terms of rain. That is very significant, very catastrophic indeed. And not many of these do scenario 2. In fact, geez, it's a pile drive going here into the Dominican Republic. Oh, yeah. Absolute worst case scenario in terms of rain and impacts out of this system. Our GFS model, same thing. Again, when it gets into its own moisture pocket, this thing will really explode, and not only in your rainfall rates, but your intensity overall. You're going to be seeing some really crazy cloud tops with this system if it does go through that process. You can see a lot of your pink colors making it onshore into the Dominican Republic, and we're talking about rain rates between 3 to 5 to even 6 inches per hour in the mountains here. That would be a catastrophic situation unfolding, and this just continues. Again, we really got to hope this does not happen for the Dominican Republic. Significant impacts will occur. Our Canadian ensemble does something like this. Again, you get the idea. Scenario 1 goes up like that. Scenario 2 down here again goes into Cuba. So this is going to be a very, very tough forecast to nail down, and we may not know this until it happens, basically. Real-time nowcasting is going to be our friend in this scenario, because these models, you saw the thumbnail, the spaghetti models are literal spaghetti this afternoon. Now, our Canadian model, or main model here, actually develops this a lot further south. And if we do see our current center of circulation develop, down as far south as it is, we could see a scenario similar to this. And this continues really far off to the west and landfalls here in Cuba as a Category 3 hurricane right within here. So it's just very interesting to watch these model trends here. That would be a very significant impact for sure. So we're going to have to really take a look at this closely and watch it, because if it is further southwest than forecasted, we could see this thing intensify at rather explosive rates. Again, the ceiling, the sky, in this case, is the limit. Now, we do have another model to look at, our Icon model here. You can see exactly what it does. It develops it further south and stalls it out right within there, and then it continues moving on off. There's going to be a lot of uncertainties with this system, no doubt about that. Now, as we move on through to our AI models here, this is going to be a very interesting look. This is our FNV3 DeepMind model here. This is a model developed from Google and has proven to be incredibly accurate this hurricane season. Actually, even more accurate than the European model itself. Absolutely incredible stuff. But you can see this thing does develop 98L down at 14 degrees north latitude, which, you know what? That's exactly where it is right now. So really good props here to our FNV3. And a lot of our members do take it into the Dominican Republic at various intensities, majority of them taking it in as a major hurricane just up like this here. So the FNV3 really does believe in catastrophic rainfall rates for that island there, especially in your mountainous regions. But you still have a few little stragglers out here that kind of take it up like this, and nope, kind of goes like that back off to the west. So we could see a sudden stall and then a shift back to the west, and that's what we're going to be watching for. You pretty much get the idea at this point. But a lot of these members that take it further west have this basically at a Category 4 to a Category 5 intensity. Something to really watch. Now, our GENC model, which has very similar accuracy to our FNV3, does something completely different. Misses that first curvature and goes for scenario number 2, and it is all hands on deck. Look at all of these members in here. We are talking about a ton of members, about 30 or 40 of them, pushing this to a Category 4 hurricane in your Western Caribbean. Absolutely outrageous stuff there, and pushes this right into Cuba. This would for sure be your higher end scenario here. And yeah, just absolutely incredible stuff, right? That being said, thank you all so much for tuning into today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to my little corner of the weather community, and share this video with friends and family on social media. And even leave a comment in the section below if you enjoyed this video, if you found it entertaining, informative. Please let me know. And that said, I'll see you all either tomorrow or Wednesday for another update on Invest 98L, which will likely be Tropical Storm Melissa by then, and hopefully our model data will be more accurate by that time, though no promises whatsoever. You could see right now we're dealing with a lot of issues in our spaghetti model guidance here. That said, have a wonderful night, everyone, and stay weather aware out there.